Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So first of all, I apologize for the terrible lighting. I don't have my light right now, so I'm literally just using the flashlight on my phone. But hey, it's real. So today's video is probably going to be a little shorter. I thought that I would do a review of the first 3 episodes of Kenobi. The show Obi-Wan Kenobi is streaming on Disney Plus, and we have 3 episodes up so far, and I've seen all 3 of them. I just watched the 3rd one tonight earlier with my family, and I watched the last 2 on Saturday, the day after that they premiered. So I have a terrible memory, so I'm not going to be recapping the episodes scene by scene. If you want that kind of a recap, there are plenty of Star Wars YouTubers that are doing that right now that are doing it much better than I could. This is more just my opinion and my thoughts, and as usual, I will be applying it to writing and what we can learn from the scenes or episodes and scenes and different stories that have been and characters that have been, done so far. So my overall opinion and rating of the episodes thus far, I would give them a, let's say, let me think about this for a minute. I hadn't actually thought about my official rating. So far, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. If not a 10 out of 10. I absolutely love it. I feel like they're doing if it's just looking at Obi-Wan by himself, I am so happy with what they're doing with his character.
Good job.
And so that would be a 10 out of 10. I have a few critiques, and that would be where it knocks it down to a 9 or a 9.5, which I'll get on that in a minute. But my overall thoughts is that they're handling Obi-Wan's character very well. So if you haven't seen these 3 episodes and do not want spoilers, click away and don't watch this video until after you go and watch them. So, spoiler review. The first episode was excellent. It did very well to focus on Obi-Wan and his, life and establishing how dull and boring and lonely it really is. And I feel like, cinematically speaking, overall, all 3 of these episodes have been cinematically? Is that the word? I feel like all 3 of these episodes have been cinematically beautiful, especially episode 3, which I'll get at in a minute. But the video filming, the editing, the camera angles, the storytelling, the writing, the acting has all been excellent, and it feels more high budget to me. It feels like, more of a film budget that they would do for an actual Star Wars film rather than like a TV show. So I feel like it's been really great. I loved the plot line where they established how lonely his life was. And so with writing, when you're trying to tell a story and it's just a lonely character, in writing that can be, for me, it's a very difficult challenge because usually you need like another character to play off of, and how do you do that without it getting boring? And in videos and films and stuff, you can show it with a lot of visuals and a lot of external situations that are affecting the character. So in writing, you have to do that with internal thoughts and monologues and stuff like that. So you have to find a balance, because if people get too much internal monologue, you can get overwhelming by it. But what they did was they picked out a plot line and showed him working where he was cutting up the sand shark, and he would go to work, cut up the meat, bring a piece back to his EOP little creature thing, take it home, and they kept coming back to this repetitive, plot with his workday. And so when you have a story and you're starting out, one of the most important things to do in your book is to start off showing what the character is like before the catalyst, before the plot line starts and your character gets wrapped up in the plot and pulled into it. And of course, in this situation, he got caught up with it. Leia gets kidnapped, so Bail Organa comes to him, asks him for help. Obi-Wan says no. And as a Star Wars fan, I loved that. I don't know how people generally feel about it, but I feel like it's been really good because in the past, Obi-Wan would have said yes in a heartbeat. He would have gone and rescued Leia and been the heroic Jedi Knight that we all know and love from the prequels. but this is a broken Obi-Wan, and so I feel like this storyline with him works so much better with him than it did with Luke in the sequels, because he's supposed to be broken, and we had 3 movies to build up to it. We kind of knew what was coming. They built up him and Anakin's friendship enough for it to feel like a betrayal in the episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, and there was a lot of time spent building up that storyline of breaking Obi-Wan, and they've even established it in this one, having him have flashbacks, voices of the past, PTSD. This is what fans have wanted to see ever since Obi-Wan left Anakin burning by the lava river on Mustafar. Fans like me who grew up with the prequels have wanted to see this period of Obi-Wan dealing with the PTSD and the after effects of what he went through with Anakin and what he witnessed. And so this is exactly what we've been needed. So for me, I feel very satisfied as a fan to see Obi-Wan struggling, to see him so broken that he almost didn't go rescue Leia. He wouldn't have if Bail Organa had come, which brings me to my next point, that I was thinking in my head, because we knew that he was going to leave Tatooine, and for me, I'm like, ugh, he's supposed to stay and watch over Luke, so whatever reason they have for him to leave, it has to be a pretty darn good one. And then Bail showed up himself, and it took a lot of convincing from Bail to even convince Obi-Wan to leave, so I feel like they nailed it. Obi-Wan didn't want to leave. His job is to protect Luke, but Bail really talked him into it, and so it was very well done. It was very believable. So he goes to rescue Leia. Some fans are having issues with the chase scenes. I mean, it's a little ridiculous, but it doesn't really turn me off, and I don't find them all that bad. So he goes to rescue Leia. He ends up in this, city kind of world, which is really cool to see the different settings and planets. I feel like another thing that they're doing really well in this show and some of the other ones has been to give us new worlds and planets, because that's what Star Wars has always been about, especially for me growing up with the prequels, and Clone Wars too, getting to see new planets, new races, and it's just the creative side of it. And so getting to see a new planet and establishing that this is definitely like a crime-infested place was really good. So he goes there, helps Leia escape, and then the Inquisitors, especially Reva, send every bounty hunter on the planet after him, so it's kind of a struggle to get off planet in episode 2. Then there's a bit of drama with the Inquisitors. So Reva the other Inquisitors find her very annoying. She's very reckless and aggressive, and she just kind of wants to do everything her way. She doesn't want to listen and obey. And it seems like now in episode 3, they're implying that she wants a lot of power and just wants a power position and stuff. And so she is vying for power. She killed the Grand Inquisitor in episode 2 at the very end and blamed it on Obi-Wan. So she covered that up, and she went against his wishes before she killed him and sent all the bounty hunters after him, because she wanted to be the one to bring in Obi-Wan to impress Vader or something, and instead she didn't want any other Inquisitor to do that. So there's a little bit of a problem, because the Grand Inquisitor same race. Some Star Wars fans are like, would they really have 2 pawns, or whatever, the Powans, or whatever the race is named? Would they really have 2 Grand Inquisitors that were literally of the same race? But to me that makes sense, because this guy was not acting like the Grand Inquisitor at all. His mannerisms, his speech, his patterns, the words he uses, everything about him was just off to me. And that was my biggest pet peeve in the first 2 episodes of last week, was that the Grand Inquisitor just wasn't him to me. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars Rebels. I know that there are some people who haven't watched it who really aren't fans of it, which is fine. I mean, you don't have to dig into the TV shows if you don't want to, but I love it. And so for me, the Grand Inquisitor was a really good season 1 villain. And he was very intimidating. He didn't take a whole lot of crap and everything. So in this one, he was a little bit more laid back. He was more focused on not breaking the rules and not doing anything that could damage their reputation, because the Senate's still around at this point, so the Empire can't just go do whatever they want, like blow up planets like they do in episode 4, because by episode 4, the Senate is dismantled. But at this time, it's not, which means they can't just do whatever. Vader can, but nobody else can. So for me, I feel like he was a little bit more tame. He was a little bit like, I feel like in Rebels, he would kill people for saying a lot less than Reva has. And he kind of took too much crap from her. And then he also is just, he doesn't speak or act the same. His mannerisms and the way he talks and puts words together is just so different. And so for me, I would prefer if this Grand Inquisitor was another Grand Inquisitor from a different race, from the same race. And he dies because Reva kills him, blames it on Obi-Wan. And then later they tie it in by maybe electing a new Grand Inquisitor, and this guy is another man from the same type of race. And this is the Grand Inquisitor that we find in Rebels that eventually dies in that one. He has to be alive for Rebels. So that was my only pet peeve. A lot of Star Wars fans don't like Reva. And the actress is getting a lot of hate. Sadly, that's pretty typical. Hayden Christensen got a lot of hate for his role as Anakin Skywalker. I've always liked him. I've always defended him. I feel like it's good that he's getting a lot of love from the Star Wars fans now. And so I feel like, but on the other hand, I feel like nobody should hate on any actor or actress. You can critique them, but you can't hate on them for anything else other than, just critiquing their performance. But on the other hand, I feel like I don't want people to get confused where they consider criticism the same thing as hate. Hating on somebody because of their skin color or their race or anything else is wrong. Don't do that. That's bad. But critiquing their performance is okay so long as it's done in a respectful manner. And so I actually enjoy her performance. I feel like Reva's character is designed to be reckless and aggressive and annoying. She annoys the Inquisitors and they can't stand her. And so that's what she was written to do. That's the role she was written to do. And so I feel like that's what she is. And so for that role, Reva and the actress both portray that very well. And as a writer, I know myself that sometimes you have to write characters a certain way. Some villains are meant to be bad, but beloved. And sometimes you write a villain for the sake of having your readers enjoy how bad they are. I would say my villain, Jared from Hunter was written that way. He was supposed to be a villain, but I wanted the readers to be a little bit more sympathetic with him and to not hate him. With my villain, same with Kieran from Dark Magi. He was supposed to be one that you would start to fall in love with and enjoy as a character. Although I had beta readers who absolutely despised him. That happens sometimes. With Kieran's dad in Dark Magi Vaxen, he's a villain that you're supposed to absolutely hate, and you can't wait till this guy dies. Some villains are supposed to be written that way. Darth Vader is a villain that's been designed to be iconic, to give you chills every time he comes on screen, to be loved by the fans. You want to see more of Darth Vader, and you want to see him be a baddie. Whereas Sidious or any other type of villain from another franchise, for example, are meant to be hated and despised. And so Reva is written as a character meant to be hated. Like my character Vaxen, you're supposed to hate them. You're supposed to find them annoying. You can't wait till they die. But that's what they are written and designed to do. As a writer, you have to have some characters like that. Some side characters could be like that, where you just hate them and they're grating on your nerves, but they're meant to be an annoying type of character. Other characters are written to be more beloved, that sort of thing. And so Reva, I don't mind her. I don't find her annoying. I find it to be very good writing because she's doing what she's designed to do, which is to annoy the Inquisitors and thus to annoy the audience. We're supposed to feel that secondhand annoyance through the other characters and stuff, and I feel like she's doing a great job. I feel like her performance is on par. The only critique I would have on the actress herself, who plays Reva, her name is Moses. I can't pronounce her last name, but I feel like it would have done her a little bit better to at least do some research and watch at least the Star Wars movies, familiarize herself with Star Wars a little more. She said specifically that she didn't. And I'm not saying that every person who's in Star Wars has to be a Star Wars fan, but when you're an actress or an actor, you have to familiarize yourself with the world that you're playing in. And if you don't know it, then you're not going to do a good enough job as somebody who would or who does know the world. You have to know the world that you're acting in. And I feel like she could have done a little bit better to do more research and know the world a little bit better. And with that, her performance would have been from kind of a B performance to an A+ performance. Because sometimes she does things that's a little doesn't feel Star Warsy to me, but it's not enough to like make me hate her. I don't hate her character. I actually don't mind Reva, and I find her to be a pretty, you know, intimidating villain. Not necessarily intimidating, but like aggressive. So I feel like she makes a really good Inquisitor because all the Inquisitors have different personalities. We've seen them in Star Wars Rebels. We saw them when we played Jedi Fallen Order, if you've played that video game. And so she's just a different type of Inquisitor with a different type of personality. They're not all supposed to be the same cut and dry, the same type of character where they're all super intimidating and super aggressive. And some of them are going to be aggressive and reckless and annoying, and some of them are going to be more laid back, quiet, and intimidating from the shadows. And, you know, you want, when you have a set of characters like this that fulfill a role like the set of Inquisitors, or a set of bad guy bounty hunters or knights, or an order of bad guys, they all have to have a different feel to them. And I feel like they've done a good job of setting her apart, making her unique and different. Long story short, I really like it. Episode 3 was phenomenal. We just watched it last night. I'm still kind of feeling energized from it. Vader was in it. He and Obi-Wan had their first duel. I don't know if they're going to do a duel a second time. I'm assuming they are, because it wasn't as epic as I was imagining it, but they did very well in showing that Obi-Wan has got no practice. He's gone downhill, and he's basically kind of sucks, but that was expected, and so that's what I was hoping for, and that's what was realistic. So in this case, the realistic choice was the right one. They made Vader a total baddie. He was like force choking people. He was literally intimidating, just literally walking down the street, and so they portrayed him so well. I'm assuming it's Hayden Christensen in the suit, so he's doing a great job of portraying him. The dialogue between them was emotional. They were only brief lines, but it was definitely what we needed. I remember talking about this in my last video where I talked about we need that. I've always wanted that reconciliation between the two of them where they actually talk about things that are associated with their journey as a close pair of friends. And Vader was like, or Obi-Wan was like, what have you become? And Vader was like, I become what you made me. And so the hostility and the pain between them was very tangible, and that's exactly what I needed, was for them to encounter each other but have dialogue more closely associated with what they once were. And that's what we got. Vader pulled Obi-Wan into the fire and burned him, and you can tell that it was like Vader was getting revenge and payback for what Obi-Wan did on Mustafar. So it was a beautiful kind of full circle scene. It was really intense. It was really dramatic, really emotional, and I wouldn't say beautiful. I meant like beautiful cinematically. They were fighting in the dark, which makes lightsabers glow brighter, and so it was the brightest, most stark, clear fight and lightsaber glow I have ever seen. I was so impressed. Cinematically speaking, it is a masterpiece. Maybe I'm over energized and fangirling about this, but I loved it. I don't have really any critiques about it at all. Leia's still the child actress they chose for her is excellent. She feels like young Leia, and there's a lot of parallels between her and Padme. There's been some beautiful moments between her and Obi-Wan, and at first I thought it was going to be kind of weird, or that it was going to take away scenes from him or focus more on her rather than Luke, but they had some beautiful moments where she asks him about the Force, and he tells her, have you ever been scared of the dark? And she says yes, and he's like, when you turn on the light, that's the same feeling that the Force gives you. And it was so beautiful. One of the most beautiful lines in the whole series. And then you also have where they're pretending to be father and son, or father and daughter, and he calls her by Leia when they lied to the stormtroopers saying that her name was Luma. And he basically, he'd mentioned that her mother was, quote, dead, as a part of their ruse. And he says, you know, I look at her and I see her mother. I get mixed up sometimes. That's her mother's name. I look at her and I see her mother. And that last part was actually true, because he looks at her and he's made references to Padme before, and it's so beautiful. And I just love it. And another thing that I love is I feel like this series is honoring the prequels, because there's a lot of prequel feels. There's a lot of callbacks. There's been a lot of lines, voices in Obi-Wan's head, flashbacks, PTSD, pulling from the prequels, whereas every content that they've done before, I feel like, has pulled more from the originals or done callbacks to the originals. So as a prequel fan, I feel finally we're getting something that's paying homage to the prequels. When we first sat down, we turned off all the lights. My family and I grabbed popcorn and snacks, and we were just pigging out and, you know, making this like a home theater type thing. We were having a blast, and we press play and it starts. It's literally a recap of episodes 1, 2, and 3. I was screaming, squealing, freaking out, flipping in my chair. I absolutely loved it. Like, I cannot express what it meant to me to have the prequels recapped like that, to tell the story that I grew up with, that leads into it. It really honestly feels like a sequel to the prequels, and one that's honoring the characters so far, and one that I absolutely love, that I have needed and dreamed of. And so this is the end of my long-winded thing. Ultimately, I love it. I love it so much. Writing wise, I would say it's pretty good so far. I feel like the Inquisitors are a little bit too chill around Reva. I'm not gonna judge that yet. If there isn't a moment where one of the Inquisitors or Darth Vader just kills her or attacks her, then it's going to be a little like they're taking too much crap from her for the sake of setting her up by Disney as kind of like this big bad villain because she's a woman, you know, especially a woman of color. And it kind of seems inserted on there on purpose rather than doing it for the sake of making a good character in a story. And so when you're trying to write characters around a character, even in writing, you don't want to do that when you have a character that you want to be a certain way, tough, bad, intimidating, whatever. You need to show that character being intimidating or whatever emotions you want to emit from them. You don't write characters around them that way, and you certainly don't mess with preconceived characters that we are familiar with to change them to fit the character. You change the character to impact the story and people around them. So that's my writing tip for the day. All in all, I would give Kenobi, the TV show, the first 3 episodes, a rating of 9.5 out of 10. I love them. I don't have a whole lot of critiques. I don't hate them. Reva's performance and character I can deal with. She's written and designed to be reckless, aggressive, and annoying, and sometimes as a writer you have to write characters like that. My villain, Vaxen, is designed to literally be despised and hated by the audience. I hate writing him, but he's necessary to the story. Sometimes you have to have villains that are simply just bad people and bad characters, but well written. There's a difference between well written and bad. So anyways, that's what I think of Kenobi, so I hope that you guys have enjoyed this review. Again, sorry for the bad lighting, but I tried to connect it to writing. I'm just trying to be more authentic and more myself, which brings in my nerdy side. I know I'm not sticking to my niche as well, but I hope that that's okay, and, you know, that you guys still enjoy these videos. If you did, please like them, share them, and subscribe for more writing videos every Monday. Thanks, guys.